Hello everyone, and welcome back to Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. In the previous two videos, I went through a little mini dungeon and fought a bunch of enemies. It's actually kind of tedious because I had the exact same challenge twice in a row. Just go from room to room and fight all the enemies, then go from room to room and fight all the enemies. Well, I hope you find fighting enemies exciting, because we are having that challenge for a third time in a row. That's right, in this video, I'm going to go through the Savage Labyrinth, where I have 50 different rooms filled with enemies to fight. I'm not sure what the game developers were thinking at this point in the game. Maybe they thought it was lots of fun to fight a bunch of enemies over and over and over again? Or maybe they wanted to have another dungeon for this section of the game, but they weren't able to finish the dungeon in time, and so they just decided to cheat and give you the same challenge over and over again. Well, oh, Link! Link, how did that not work? Poor cartoon Link accidentally falling off platforms. So like I said, the Savage Labyrinth has 50 different levels. That's a lot of levels, but I think I can make it all the way through. Looks like I need a boomerang here for this challenge. Oh no! Oh wait, no, never mind, my boomerang works. For a second there I thought my boomerang had just disappeared. Oh no, not these enemies again. Wonder why that one enemy didn't appear with all the others. Strange. As you might be able to tell, I'm trying to get through this area rather quickly. That's because we have 50 different levels. If you want to go through it slowly, let me show you the strategy. What you want to do is steal hearts from these enemies. There are plenty of other enemies that you can steal hearts from, but you'll notice that none of the enemies drop items. That's sort of the challenge of the Savage Labyrinth. There's no way to refill on hearts because the enemies don't drop hearts. So if you want hearts, you're going to have to do that strategy of stealing them from the bokoblins and other enemies. It's the slow but safe way to get through this dungeon. And I suppose dungeon is sort of a generous term here. It's basically the exact same challenge for 50 times in a row. Actually looks like the exact same room over and over again, too. Alright, that was simple. I'm thinking the enemies we've seen so far have a theme. We have the Dragon Roost Cavern theme, if we could use that. That is, all of these enemies are enemies we saw in Dragon Roost Cavern. Or at least they're supposed to be. I haven't seen any of those enemies in Dragon Roost Cavern. Really. Ah, okay, so this floor looks more like enemies from Dragon Roost Cavern. And that's it. No more enemies. No more enemies. I'm missing a heart, so I might as well steal it from this enemy. Uh-oh, got a rupee, not a heart. There we go. And moblins. Moblins are also enemies that you can get hearts from. So if you need hearts, rob these guys. Right, moblins defeated. Oh, no, not defeated. Okay, fine. Moblins defeated now. Alright, that is floor number 10. So I get a minor break and lots of goodies. So the Triforce chart I'm looking for is on level number 30, and hopefully I won't take too long getting there. I don't want this video to be a super long video. And as you can see, we have enemies from the second dungeon. The Forsaken... No, not Forsaken. The Forbidden Woods! So let's see... Ah! Chew enemies. That's right, the green chew enemies were introduced as soon as we met the Great Deku Tree. And apparently I'm missing one. There he is! What's next? We had the flying enemies. Oh, the Boku Babas, of course. I don't think I actually got to show this off in the Forbidden Woods, but once you get the boomerang, you can kill these enemies with one hit. I don't remember these enemies inside the Forbidden Woods, but I'll accept it. Yeah, we saw these enemies earlier. Those enemies were inside Dragon Roost Cavern. We had two of them. They were guarding Medley when she was kidnapped. Oh, I remember these enemies. So these enemies are kind of hard to dodge against. It's sort of the problem you have when there are a bunch of dark nuts together. It's just hard to target one enemy when you're surrounded by 5, and so you're kind of forced to take damage by the 3 enemies who are out of your range of attack. It's okay, they only did half damage to me. You know, half a heart's worth of damage to me, that's not so bad. You know, I have to admit, it's kind of funny how Link screams every single time he falls down a hole. He still has yet to realize he's not going to die. Or maybe it's just equally terrifying every single time. I think I'll just rob this guy here for a heart piece. Back at full health, next level. Ah, these enemies put together. Okay. Maybe you're supposed to use the boomerang or something. Looks like the boomerang works rather well. And let me get a heart from this guy. He only has money. Oh well. That's a problem with relying on the strategy of stealing hearts from bokoblins and moblins. Sometimes they don't actually have the items you're looking for. So this is the mini-boss. You know, the mini-boss of the Forsaken Wood... Not Forsaken Woods. I keep mixing up Forsaken Woods and Forbidden Woods. It's because of the Forsaken Fortress. So this is the mini-boss of the Forbidden Woods. Now that you have the boomerang, it's pretty easy to fight this mini-boss. Previously, what you had to do was use the Deku Leaf in order to defeat the wings of that enemy. As you saw there, I have the boomerang to defeat its wings. Wow! Okay, I'm done. Fantastic. Done with floor number 20. Now for the next set of floors. So the third dungeon was the Temple of the Gods, meaning these are all enemies from the Temple of the Gods. Now you might notice there is no level in this dungeon for the Forsaken Fortress. All that does is support my theory that the Forsaken Fortress doesn't count as a real dungeon. Sure, it has a boss battle and a mini-boss battle, but that's only the second time you come into the dungeon. The first time around, it's more like an extended sneaking challenge. I don't know, the Forsaken Fortress is okay, it's just the fact that you have to go through it twice, and it doesn't get any better the second time around. That's my problem with that dungeon. If there were new and interesting challenges the second time around, I would be all for it. I would say it is fantastic, it is definitely worth revisiting. But since it's basically the same thing twice, no. Sorry. Alright, those enemies defeated. Next level. Now, if you really want to, you can actually cheat your way through this area. What you have to do is use the hookshot in the iron boots. Oh! These two enemies. These are the ones which are electric. But now that you have the bow and arrow, you can easily kill them. So wait, what was I saying? Yes. Cheating your way through the dungeon. Iron boots and hookshot. Use that right over here on the exit there, and you can cheat your way through the dungeon. Basically, you will fall into the bottomless pit and go to the next floor without having defeated the enemies here. Alright, things are going pretty well here. We're 15 minutes in. I'm going to kill the bokoblin enemies first. Then focus on the Dark Nut. As you probably remember, this character was the mini-boss of the Temple of the Gods. And this is also an enemy that you can rob in order to get hearts. Looks like he's not giving me hearts yet. There we go. You'll see right there he gave me like 4 hearts in a row. That is nice. This guy is just loaded with items. Wow. Okay, enemy defeated. These enemies again? That's not very creative. Aha! There we go. I thought it was a trick. Clearly, they were trying to lure me into a false sense of security with those 3 enemies. But to be honest, adding 1 Wizrobe enemy to the 3 enemies is not increasing the challenge by all that much. Ooh, and I see the trick here. Those skulls are clearly red bubbles. Yep. I'm not falling for that trick. And it looks like these enemies are accidentally setting off the bomb flowers. Meaning if I was close to those enemies, I would get hit by the bombs. But I'm not close to the enemies, because if I was, I would get hit by the enemies. Yeah. Let's see, is there a trick to this room? Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's just... Whoa! Oh! Oh! That guy just hit me out of midair! That was crazy. Right, destroy his armor. Might as well rob him. And that is not robbing him. I need the grappling hook to rob him. Looks like it's going to be hard to rob him when his buddy's in the way. Okay, no worries. I'm at full health now. Still haven't killed him yet. Okay, that did it. That did it. Pretty sure that did it. And this is it, right? This is it. This is level number 30. I am going to get a Triforce chart. Now, as I mentioned, there are 50 levels to this dungeon. If you go all the way to level number 50, you will get a piece of heart. I want to show that to you guys, but I don't want this video to be extra long. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show the other 20 levels of the Savage Labyrinth on fast forward mode. So what you're seeing here is a little more than a half hour of footage, just compressed into 8 minutes. Here I'm fighting a bunch of re-dead enemies. As you probably guessed, these 10 floors are going to be enemies from the Earth Temple. Here we have the blue bubble enemies. They're annoying because you can only defeat them with the Deku Leaf. Alright, they're gone. Here are the purple chews. You have to shine light on the purple chews in order to freeze them. Then you can either pick them up and throw them to destroy them, or you can use the skull hammer. Poe enemies. Just like the purple chews, you want to shine light on them so you can defeat them. Here we have those moth enemies again, which were not in the Earth Temple. Actually, isn't this the exact same challenge I had on the previous floor? I think it is. Huh. Oh well, they're easily defeated. So here you have moblins and re-deads. It's easier to kill the moblins first because the moblins will run all the way around the room while the re-deads basically stay in place. And as you can see, re-deads are easy to rob. They will give you lots of money and heart pieces. And there's that mini-boss combined with the purple chews. Looks like I missed a purple chew over there. Actually, looks like I missed 2 of them. And what's this? Poes and moblins, alright. So here's an alternate way of defeating the Poes. Instead of fighting them, you can let them possess Link. They will possess Link and screw up his control scheme, just like in the boss fight with Jalhala. But you'll notice that this doesn't hurt Link. Sure, it makes Link go all crazy for a while, but it doesn't actually do any damage to his health meter. So in this room, you have blue bubbles along with Stalfos enemies. It's probably better to kill the blue bubbles and then fight the Stalfos. Otherwise, the blue bubbles are just going to interrupt you at the most inopportune moment when fighting. Oh, and that's it! Okay, I finished 10 floors. Now for the final 10 floors. Here I get in a corner just so there's not a lot of room for those enemies to appear. As you saw there, I get absolutely swamped with about 30 enemies at once. And here you have chews. The game is trying to trick you into attacking the yellow chews by accident. Really, the best strategy is to use your bow and arrow and kill all of the chews, regardless of color. Hit the switch here to make the Wizrobes appear. Here I kind of waste a lot of time trying to kill the Wizrobes on the ground, rather than using fire arrows and killing them right from the start. You can rob the Wizrobe enemies for magic, but you can't rob them for heart pieces. So here you just have a ton of Bokoblin enemies, and because I'm down to about half health, I basically just rob them over and over and over again, one by one, until I am at full health. So that's going to make this room take a little bit longer than it should. It's almost at full health now. And of course, it was pointless for me to rob all those bokoblins because this room has re-dead enemies, and you can easily rob them for health. Here I'm trying to attack the Stalfos by themselves before attacking the re-deads, simply because the re-deads give health. But I think one of the Stalfos accidentally killed one of the re-deads for me. The re-dead didn't give me health. Oh well. Here I'm gonna try to fight the moblins before drawing the attention of the other enemies, but obviously that does not work. So I changed my strategy and basically kill that one Dark Nut as quickly as possible, then go after the moblins. Yep. As you can see, it's much better when you fight the enemies one by one. It's a lot easier to handle the enemies and easier to rob the enemies. So here we have Wizrobes along with Dark Nuts. Probably best to kill the Wizrobes before attacking the Dark Nuts. Otherwise, you'll have to do a lot of dodging when you're fighting the Dark Nuts. Alright, I'm back at full health. This is sort of a tricky room. The game wants you to fight the Stalfos inside the middle of the room. That way you'll get hurt by the exploding bombs, which are all on the floor. The best strategy is to lure the Stalfos away from the bombs and attack them there. That way you don't accidentally get hurt by the exploding bombs. And this is the final room, with the extremely dangerous version of the Dark Nut enemies. Here I'm going to try a little bit of a different strategy. I'm just going to spam this one Dark Nut with fire arrows. Looks like it's working, but I'm getting badly injured, so it's time to use Grandma's Soup. What you have to do is knock the helmets off of the Dark Nuts. Otherwise, you won't be able to hurt them with the fire arrows. At least I think that's the case. You can't use your boomerang on a Dark Nut if it still has the helmet. And it looks like there's only one Dark Nut left. Okay, fantastic! That's how you get through all the floors of the Savage Labyrinth.